Hello, I am ChristianWaldvogel. I'm a conceptual artist who is interested in the Earth as a planet in the universe, with the moon, and with humanity living on top of it. In my work, I try to investigate the system we live in, our surroundings, which start from the Big Bang and ends today here, in a manner that takes a look upon these things from outside the system. In this way, I am trying to take the position that an artist has against society, by looking at society from an external point of view, by somewhat taking a position which does not take part in a way while being part of the system, but still finds ways of interpreting, maybe criticizing, commenting, understanding these things. Oftentimes, my projects start from a fairly simple idea, which then is elaborated and sometimes implemented at great lengths. These ideas often investigate aspects of our world, aspects that tend to comment or investigate the physical world, the mythological world, the functioning of a social environment. They use some sort of scientific approach, which often is broken at a point where the story that I'm trying to tell, the narration, the content gets more important than the very strict way of formulating a theory in a scientific way. I try to expand human knowledge, human understanding of Earth, of the planet, of the universe, in a way that is maybe more prone to an artist than to a scientist, but nevertheless is worth considering or important, maybe even fundamental for all of us. And this is why I am examining Earth within its natural environment, outer space, the universe. So one thing which is very crucial to the universe itself is time. Because if we look at something in the scale of the universe, the distance that time needs to travel becomes a very crucial factor. Because if one is investigating the universe, which is so large, the time it takes for light to travel becomes equally important as the spatial dimension. Something that has been reoccurring in my work very often, the coming together of a certain location with a certain moment. For example, I have traveled to the West Pole. I have always been interested in people who are investigating the Earth, and so I've of course read all the stories about Robert Scott and Roald Amundsen dying, respectively conquering the South Pole. And so at the age of 14 I asked my father where the West Pole was, and he answered correctly that there wasn't. Later on, thinking about this whole West Pole problem in a more general way, including not only Earth with its rotation and its extremes where the axis comes out, north and south, but also in the context of the Earth and the Sun, I realized that actually East is pointing towards the Sun always, and West is pointing away from it. And so the West Pole lies at the center and at the middle of the night. The center in geographical terms, and the middle in temporal terms. And so I found the West Pole. One project which is very dear to me, which is a recent one, is based on the Italian philosopher Giordano Bruno, who was the last scientist that was burned at stake for, as we know today, saying the truth. All the planets are like the Earth, and all the stars are like the Sun. And by this he introduced randomness into the design of the universe. And since he was the last scientist to be burned at stake for saying the truth that we know today. I have decided to make a piece about him. And this piece is based on a machine which is used by the European Space Agency, a device that has two axes that rotate in a random manner. It's used to have a probe at the center of this, which, normally being a cell or a plant or another slow organism, which by being rotated in a random manner thinks that gravity is coming from everywhere, hence thinks it is weightless. So I've turned around this mechanism and have not subtracted gravity from its center, but I've built a machine that actually accumulates something at its center. And since I was doing this piece about Giordano Bruno, I used his matter, his way of storing energy and of writing his papers to study the candles as a matter that would play a major role in this project. So in this piece, which is called Random Planet Production Machine, we have a candle on top, custom made. It melts most of the wax and burns just a little bit, which then drips into a heated copper funnel, and from there drips into the center of such a random positioning machine, where through a random, not controlled motion, a sphere accumulates, a paraffin sphere. And to me this has a striking and fundamental beauty in the way that the rulelessness, randomness, chance, is the basis to form the perfect geometric form, the sphere. And so this acts as a metaphor for Giordano's planets. So this creates Giordano's planets, but it also acts as a metaphor for humanity in the way that we kind of commit random chance actions, but somehow they tend to turn out perfect. In my most recent work, I investigated how humans came to be. There's an organism called cyanobacteria, which is one of the oldest organisms in existence. It's 3 billion years old. And it's the organism that actually changed the Earth's atmosphere from a carbon dioxide atmosphere into an oxygen atmosphere. And these single-celled organisms, they still exist today. They still exist in every cell of every plant. And they are our oldest forebears. And so I created a primordial soup, an isolated environment of 140 square meters, a sterile environment within which thousands of billions of these organisms were growing, forming a dark green liquid 4 centimeters deep, showing us, the visitors, the beholders, where we are actually coming from. And at this point, I would like to say that my work is not about myself experiencing things, adventures, nice travels, but rather at finding out things and conveying what I find out to the beholder, so that he may ask himself the same questions and may find his own answers, her own answers, or follow mine. And so in this sense, in the way that I am trying to enable my audience to follow my thoughts and to question Earth, humanity in itself, I could say that my work is less an emotional type of work, a work that comes out of a scientific mind, maybe, the work of a philosopher who tries to use the medium of art and the possibilities of art to convey these things, rather than using complicated language, using films, installations, books. So when I met Jitish for the first time, we were talking about the way how he wants to curate and shape this biennial here with its two main trajectories, the trajectory about the stories of exploration, and on the other hand with the galactic aspects of Earth hurtling through space, being followed by the Sun who is hurtling around the galactic center, etc. It quickly became clear that I do have a project that perfectly well fits this topic, a project that makes an aspect accessible which is common to everybody but never thought of. It's in a way a fundamental work, a work that maybe could be compared to the early Apollo photographs of Earth as the blue marble.